afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar today on Social Security. My name is Nathan Larson. I'm a wealth advisor here at Squire, and happy that you joined us to learn a little bit about Social Security and when you might start receiving benefits. Just for some housekeeping items, if you have questions, there's a Q&A section. You're welcome to type those in. We'll be watching that and trying to address those as we go. If we're not able to answer any of the some of the questions, we will follow up with you after the presentation today. So let's go ahead and get started. So Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system. So Kirsten, can you advance the slide for me? So Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system. So everybody hears on the news all the time how it's bankrupt and it's going to run out of money. And they're somewhat right, but I want to demystify what's really going on with the Social Security system. So it's a pay-as-you-go system. So workers who are working now are paying Social Security taxes into the system, and those taxes are used to pay retired benefits. So currently we have a shortfall. So there's more money going out than there is coming in, which is a big problem. If you think about managing your checkbook, that's not a good situation to be in. Luckily, we do have a $2.8 trillion trust fund that has been used to make up the shortfall. That trust fund is invested in US Treasuries, so it earns a little bit of interest, but it is going to run out at our current rate. So in the year 2033 is kind of the closest estimate. At that point, the benefits that are coming, or the taxes that are coming in to pay out benefits, will only be about 77% of what is needed. So at a worst case scenario, in 2033, benefits could be cut down to 77% of what they're currently scheduled for. So how did we get to that point? Well, first off, back in 1960 and earlier when this program was created, we had 5 workers for every beneficiary. Fast forward the clock till now, 2024, and it's probably getting worse. We have 2.7 workers per beneficiary. So you can see the worker to retired person, ratio is going down, and that's caused the situation that we're in now. A couple of other factors that have contributed: we do have an aging population, and so we have more people retiring than we have joining the workforce, and that's a challenge. We have lower birth rates, so the challenge is only going to get worse. And on top of that, everybody's living longer, so they receive benefits for a longer period of time. So there are several possible solutions to fixing the shortfall. I've listed some of them here. Raising the tax rate would obviously be something. Currently, there's a cap on Social Security earnings. For 2026, it's $184,500. So a worker's first $184,500 gets taxed for Social Security, and then any earnings above that are exempt from Social Security. So there's been some talk about eliminating that cap or raising it. They have raised it, fairly aggressively. In 2025, it was like 174 or 172, somewhere in there. They could extend Social Security taxes to other types of income. Currently, it's earning, W-2 earned income and self-employment income. They could extend the taxes to investment income or other non-wage income. They could raise the full retirement age. That's probably pretty likely with people living longer, and we'll kind of get into what they have done in the past on that. And we could reduce the cost of living adjustments. So currently, they're trying to increase the Social Security benefits people receive every year for inflation. So the past 2 years, it was like 2.5% cost of living increase in 2025. And then in 2026, I think it was a 2.8% increase. So they could reduce that. They could means test benefits, which I absolutely hate the idea of, but it's a possibility. The reason I don't like that one is it seems like it would penalize people who have prepared well and saved on their own. So I hope they don't go that route. And they could also invest that trust fund in something more than U.S. Treasuries. Maybe in equities. It's currently invested in just the lowest yielding government securities possible for safety reasons. So those are some of the fixes. Personally, I think Congress will figure it out. They'll probably wait until the eve of 2033 to figure it out, which will make the remedy more painful. But it's such an important part of our economy and government systems and retirement income for people that it would be a real tragedy if nothing gets solved. So we will see what happens, but just want to lay out the facts on where it's at. I don't think it will go away completely because the people working will be able to pay the 77% of benefits to the people who are retired, but hopefully we can figure out a fix long term that would ensure the system lasts for much longer. Okay, Kirsten, do you want to go to the next slide? So when should you start receiving benefits? And you'll have to push the arrows, Kirsten. So you can, at your full retirement age, so that's between ages 66 and 67, depending on the year of birth. And I'll show you a little chart there so you can figure out when your full retirement age is. You can start claiming benefits as early as age 62. And then after your full retirement age, you earn delayed retirement credits up through age 70. You really don't want to wait past age 70 because you don't get any benefits for doing so. So we'll kind of talk about why you might want to take benefits across these different age ranges. If we go to the next slide, there's not a one size fits all answer. So it's really a personal decision. And there's a lot of factors that go into it. So it does impact your overall retirement income, and it can be used as a longevity insurance. So one of the things I like to do in the planning work I do for clients is kind of think through what gives a client the best chance of living a meaningful life in the way that they want and not running out of money or losing the ability to pay for your basic living expenses. And Social Security can help in that planning. And also, if you're married, timing significantly impacts your spouse. We'll talk about spousal benefits, also your survivor's benefits when you pass away. There's some survivor benefits. So these are some of the factors you should consider. So you need to kind of know how the calculation works, which we'll get into, and when your full retirement age is. You can figure out the amount of your future benefit and what happens if you take early benefits or accrue delayed retirement credits. How long do you expect your retirement to last based on your life expectancy? There's kind of a dad joke, so to speak. If we know when our clients are going to pass away, planning becomes really easy. We can optimize everything perfectly, but since we don't know that, we're kind of always dealing with this: what's the life expectancy and what's the best decision? And it's not just you. If you're married, then you need to kind of factor in a joint life expectancy and your spouse's life expectancy. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, whether you plan to continue working or not is a big factor in when you're taking Social Security benefits. You don't have to start taking benefits when you stop working. You can retire before you start taking benefits, and opposite of that, you can also start taking benefits before you stop working. So we'll talk about how that might work. And then what are your other sources of retirement income? Sometimes people will come in and do planning and they really want to retire at a certain point, and they just need those Social Security payments now, so they don't really have a choice on delaying taking their benefits. All right. And of course, we'll talk about our favorite topic, income taxes, and how Social Security might impact your income tax situation and how your spouse is affected. We've talked a little bit about that. Okay, let's go to the next one. So here's the full retirement age. And what this means is it's kind of the starting point for your benefit calculation. And it's the age at which Social Security decides that you get your full benefit. So it used to be age 65, as you can see on the chart here, for people who were born before 1954 or earlier. And because of the challenges with the Social Security system and it it not bringing in enough money to cover current benefits, Congress went in and said, we got to raise this full retirement age. And of course, that makes people upset because it's change and it's not fair. And so they wanted to get it up to 67, but they couldn't just jump in and do everybody. So they made it all complicated for us and put in these 5 or 6 different tiers of based on the year you were born. So you should be able to find the year you were born on this chart and determine when your full retirement age is. And again, that's just the starting point for your benefit calculation at the age of when you receive your full benefit according to Social Security. That full retirement age also factors into some other things that we'll talk about a little bit later. Okay, so how is your benefit calculated? So as you approach retirement, and they're doing this now, everybody can log in. You can create an account to ssa.gov and look at what your earnings history is for the Social Security system and get some benefit estimates off of there. Their site's pretty good and you can get some good information. But really what they're looking for, so to qualify for Social Security, you have to have worked in the Social Security system, so paid Social Security taxes through a W-2 type job or self-employment activity for 40 quarters. So that's 10 years roughly if you did it, sequentially. But 40 quarters makes somebody eligible. And then to calculate your benefits, what they do is they take your highest 35 years. They take all of your earnings first, index them for inflation so that they're comparable. And then they take an average of the highest 35 years. And if you don't have 35 years, they will put zeros in for the years to make it a 35-year average. And that's how they determine what your full retirement age benefit is. So. All right. So let's kind of talk about taking benefits early versus delaying them. So this is just a little example. So remember, you can start claiming benefits as early as age 62. In this example, we have somebody whose full retirement age is 66 and their full retirement age benefit is $1,800 a month. If that person decides I want to take benefits early, then they receive $1,350 per month instead. So Kirsten, if you'll just go through and give me all the bullet points there. Yep. Okay, so you can see there that's a 30% reduction if between age 66 and 62. But that person did receive benefits for a longer period of time. If we go to the next slide, we'll kind of fast forward and look at what happens if you do delayed retirement credits. It works in a similar way. So at $1,800 a month, if this person waits until they're age 70, they'll essentially have about an 8% increase each year that they delay in their monthly retirement age benefits. So they would receive $2,376 instead of the $1,800 per month. So you can start to see how that taking benefits early reduces your benefits and then delaying increases your monthly benefits. If we go to the next slide, it'll show the whole spectrum. And the difference between age 62 and age 70 is a 76% increase in monthly benefits. However, during that period, you gave up $129,600 of cumulative benefits if you had started at age 62. So you can see how there's a lot of options here that might impact your decision on when you take benefits. One thing I like to kind of think about going back to the longevity insurance is your biggest risk in retirement. It's not dying, it's living a long time and eventually running out of money. And so by delaying Social Security, you buy yourself a bigger payment that lasts your lifetime. It also lasts your spouse's lifetime if you were to pass away first and your benefit was higher. And we'll kind of get into that. Sometimes people will look at this and say, well, and they may not need the actual Social Security income to live on. Maybe they've saved enough in other ways. And they say, well, I could invest that $130,000 and do better. early on, and that may be true. However, you are giving up that longevity insurance idea, and you know it's pretty hard to beat a government guaranteed 8% increase. So definitely something to factor in, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, and kind of staying on theme with the longevity insurance option, how long, sometimes people's retirement lasts 20 or 30 plus years. And you see, according to the National Center for Health Statistics, once somebody's reached age 65, a man who's reached age 65, they can expect on average to live till 83. And somebody who's a woman is till 85. And that's just the averages. So if there's a lot of other factors that go into that. But typically the average is higher for people who have more wealth. It's also higher for healthy people, of course, and some of your family genetics factor in here. But go to the next bullet point, Kirsten. There's also a 1 in 4 chance that a retiree will live past 90, and a 1 out of 10 chance that somebody will live past age 95, just based on statistics. So, if somebody retires when they're 65, there's likely a 20 plus year horizon that they need their funds to last. And that's where optimizing Social Security can help with that goal of not running out of money. All right, let's talk about working. So if you plan on working, just advance it 2 more, Kirsten. Thank you. Yeah, so if you plan on working, if you work before your full retirement age, there's a limit on how much you can earn before Social Security starts reducing your benefits. Once you reach full retirement age, then there's no earnings limit. You could earn as much as you can or want to, and your Social Security benefits will not be reduced. And the next slide will kind of show us how that calculation works. So before full retirement age, every $2 that you earn over $24,480 in 2026, your benefits get reduced for $1 until they're all phased out. So if somebody was going to work, they probably don't want, and they were going to earn more than 24,480, it's likely that they don't want to take Social Security benefits. Now, you don't lose, that reduction isn't lost forever. What happens to it in theory is it gets accumulated, and then your benefits are increased by that amount, but they spread it over your expected lifetime. So you may get it, you may not. You're putting a lot of trust in the government that they can calculate that correctly. Probably better to just not take benefits if you plan on working and earning more than this amount. Now, the year you reach full retirement age, you get a little bit higher limit, and that's just because people don't always retire, right at the beginning of the year. Sometimes they retire mid-year or, first quarter or third quarter. Who knows when you could retire at any point in the year. So they give you 65,160, and then a little bit less of a reduction. It's reduced every $3 that are over that limit, is your benefits are reduced $1. And then, as we discussed, after full retirement age, no reduction, doesn't matter at all. So whether you decide to work or not has a big factor into this decision of when you should claim benefits. If you're going to keep working and earning more than these limits, it probably makes sense to delay taking Social Security benefits. All right. One other fact, like probably the biggest factor really is in determining can you wait, is and let's say somebody really just wants to retire and they want to wait and they want to delay taking Social Security. So we need to kind of factor in, is this possible? And the factors, like what's the Social Security income going to be? Kirsten just kind of advanced through these. So are you going to have job earnings? Are you going to have pension benefits? And then what other savings and investments you have? And all these factors can go into that decision. Like I was mentioning earlier, if somebody really wants to retire and the Social Security is really integral to their spending plan in retirement, well, then you probably don't have a lot of choice in delaying. But somebody who's saved well or has some of these other sources of earnings can retire and maybe still delay taking Social Security. So that decision of when to start benefits doesn't always have to match up with your actual retirement date. All right, and let's talk about taxes. So, Social Security benefits, will they be taxable? So, this has been a hot topic in the news. We did get the passing of the one big beautiful bill that they were promising that they were going to remove the tax on Social Security income. We didn't quite get there. We got a new senior deduction of $6,000 per person that starts to phase out when income is 75, gross income is 75,000 for a single person or 150,000 for a married couple filing jointly. So that senior deduction helps, but we still have the tax on Social Security benefits and how that works. So if you look down at the star on the bottom, kind of looking at combined income, which equals your adjusted gross income plus any non-taxable income plus half of your Social Security benefits income. So if that number is below 25,000 for a single person or 32,000 for a married filing joint couple, then your benefits are tax-free. If you fall in that range of 25,000 to 34,000 for a single person and 32 to 44 for a married filing joint couple, then 50% of the benefits you receive are taxable. And then from there, it just tiers up once you get over the 34,000 for a single or 44,000 for married, then 85% of your benefits are taxable. So sometimes people get hung up on that and freak out and think 85% tax rate, that's crazy. That's not the rate. That's the amount of the benefits that go onto your tax return as taxable income. And then they're taxed at whatever rate your overall income tax return falls in. So that's dependent on all the other income that you have. And then the senior deduction would apply after that, that those after that calculation. So, all right. So how will your decision affect your spouse? So, and this is really important for married couples, and everybody's case is different depending on what the age differences are between spouses, whether it's a first marriage or a second or third marriage, how long you've been married, all of those kind of things factor in here. Whether you have dependent children, those can all play into this decision. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how the spousal benefits work. So Kirsten, just go to the next slide there. Oh, this kind of got out of order here. So back on the taxes. So state taxes, this map is kind of fun to look at. If you look at the blue states, they have eliminated state tax on Social Security benefits. So that's good. So if you live in one of those states, you don't have to pay tax on Social Security benefits. If you live in one of the green states, you don't have an income tax at all, no state income tax at all. The purple states are still taxing Social Security, and the yellow states have some sort of credit reduction, some sort of exemption, but it's not complete. It's not a complete exemption. So I'll show you what Utah's is. In 2025, go to the next one, Kirsten. So in 2025, Utah passed a bill. We were one of the few states that was taxing Social Security benefits. And I'm talking about Utah because our office is headquartered in Utah, and I'm not sure if everybody on this call is from Utah or not, but that's why we're talking about Utah. In 2025, Utah passed a bill that created a credit against Social Security income, but it's a pretty low phase out. So you can kind of see the credit's 4.5% of your taxable Social Security benefits, which is our tax rate. So it essentially wipes the tax on Social Security. And the credit's reduced 2.5% for each dollar that's over these modified adjusted gross income amounts. So for married filing jointly, once your adjusted gross income gets above 90,000, then you don't qualify for the credit. If it's below 75,000, you'd get the full credit, and then in between, you'd have that phase out. So that's helpful, but it's only helpful on people who fit within these income ranges. So we didn't get it totally exempt, but this helps a little bit for people that fit in these ranges. All right, we should be talking about spousal benefits. Okay, good. So retirement benefits, at your full retirement age, obviously you get 100% of your benefit. So spouses really have to kind of start with, did the spouse work at all, and did they earn enough Social Security credits to qualify for their own benefit? And remember, that's 40 quarters. And then if they did qualify for their own benefit, then you kind of look at what is their own benefit. There is a spousal benefit available, even if the spouse never worked. And how that works is it's 50% of the full retirement age benefit of their working spouse, the one who has the benefits. And they're eligible for that as long as the earning spouse is claiming Social Security benefits. And then you have to factor in the age ranges of the non-working spouse. So they have to be at least 62 to claim benefits. Now, the starting point for this 50% calculation, it starts at the primary worker's full retirement age benefit. And then you look at, when did the non-working spouse claim benefits. If they claimed it at their own full retirement age, they get the maximum 50%. If they claimed it before, then there's the same reductions apply. Around 8% or so applies. Now, what's interesting about the spousal benefits is there is not a delayed retirement credit. So it doesn't get any higher than 50% for that spouse if they waited past their full retirement age to claim benefits. So why that's important is because you have to coordinate, spousal benefits and when the primary earner claims benefits, and the age differences come into play, and there's lots of different variations you could run to kind of optimize when the right time is to claim benefits. Now, that 50% benefit, if the non-working or the lower working spouse, lower earning spouse, has a benefit that's higher than the 50% of their spouse's benefit, then they get their own benefit instead of the spousal benefit. So you don't get both, you get whichever one is bigger, if that makes sense. All right, do we have any questions so far in the Q&A?
No, not so far.
Not so far. Okay, remember that Q&A is available there. If you have questions as I'm talking here, put those questions in there and we'll try to discuss those and answer those as we go. I believe we have talked about that. Yeah, so let's keep going here. We're getting close to the end. So survivor's benefits, typically when one of the spouses passes away, whoever's receiving the highest benefit, that's the benefit that stays. So the lower benefit goes away and the higher benefit stays. So that's where delaying Social Security can help with that longevity insurance for both you and your spouse, if your spouse lives longer than you, because they would step into that higher benefit. Now, survivor benefits are a little different. You're eligible for those as early as age 60. It's subject to a reduction. There's also some survivor benefits and Social Security benefits if there's minor children or disabled children. So if that's your situation, that might be a reason to claim benefits early, because those, if you have minor children and they're going to age out if you wait, you would be leaving some dollars on the table there. And so a good analysis is worth running in those situations. All right. Overall, the choice is yours, but you may decide to take benefits early if you need the income right away. We've talked about that. You may want to invest the monthly income. We've talked a little bit about that. It can factor into your overall retirement plan if you want to delay having to take funds out of your retirement accounts or other income sources. Your spouse wants to delay taking benefits. So sometimes you can have one spouse take benefits early and you can have one spouse delay, and that coordination is really important. We do have some really good tools where we can analyze different scenarios and run lots of options to optimize when the right claiming strategy is for a couple, and even for people who are single. So if you're interested in that, you can reach out to us after this webinar. We run those analyses for free and discuss those with you. So And of course, you might want to decide to delay taking benefits if you want to earn those delayed retirement credits and have a higher monthly benefit. You want to maximize survivor's income. We've talked a little bit about that. If you're planning to work longer, which is good, you don't take the benefits if they're just going to reduce them. And you want to protect income against longevity risk. So talked a lot about that. Overall, it's like I said, it's not a one size fits all. There's many factors that go into this. And what our job is at Squire Wealth Advisors is to sit down with you and understand where you're at, what your goals are, and we can help guide you in the best claiming strategy that will maximize your benefits over your retirement lifetime. Um, to get benefit estimates, I highly recommend logging into ssa.gov. Years ago, the Social Security Administration would mail out those green and white it was kind of one big page folded that showed your earnings history and your estimated benefits. Also showed kind of your disability benefits that are available through the system as well. They've stopped mailing those out, but you can get the same information if you log in and create an account on ssa.gov. And so highly recommend doing that. That's also the place where you would go to get the information we need if you want us to run a unique Social Security analysis for you. What we need is your earnings history. So you can log onto that site, download your earnings history, and we can use that to run an analysis for you and give you some claiming ideas and help you there. So it's also important to remember that Social Security, when you're ready to apply for benefits, it takes at least 3 months, sometimes longer. So you want to start applying at least 3 months before you want to receive your first payment. And they do make you apply online, and sometimes those applications go through easy, other times they're hard. You can talk to them by phone, and they do have offices around, but the offices are by appointment only. So really everything starts online at that ssa.gov site. All right, thank you for choosing Squire Wealth Advisors. We're happy you joined our webinar today. Hopefully you learned something new. And as always, reach out to us if you have questions. We're happy to run those Social Security analysis for you. And overall, we do really good wealth planning. Our goal is to help maximize your wealth and minimize your taxes and let you go and enjoy a really good retirement. Did we have
Nathan,
any
we do
questions
have-
come through?
Yeah, we did have one question come through.
Okay.
The question is, can a spouse get the spousal benefit at their full retirement age, even if the primary earner defers to age 70?
No. Well, no. To claim the spousal benefits, the primary worker that you're claiming those benefits on has to be taking their own benefits. That's a relatively recent change. Probably 5-6 years ago, you could do what's called a file and suspend strategy. So the primary worker could file and then suspend their benefits, and that would free up the spousal benefits. But that's gone now. They've taken that out. So kind of the first hurdle is the primary earner has to be taking their own benefits before the spousal benefit is available. So great question though. Any other questions coming through?
Don't see any others.
Okay. Well, thanks again, everyone. If you have questions, you can email us, reach out. Our phone number's there. We are here to help you. So have a great day and enjoy your afternoon.